My friends, I want you to imagine something profound for just a moment. Imagine that everything you've been taught about limitation, about scarcity, about having to struggle for every blessing in your life. Imagine that it's all been a magnificent lie, not a lie told with malicious intent, but a lie inherited through generations of fear, passed down like a cursed heirloom from parent to child, from teacher to student, from society to soul. What if I told you that you were born with a sacred power? What if abundance isn't some distant dream reserved for the lucky few, but your divine birthright? What if prosperity, in all its forms, has been waiting for you all along, like a gift wrapped in golden paper, sitting patiently while you convinced yourself you weren't worthy to unwrap it? This is not just another motivational speech. This is a calling. This is an awakening. This is your invitation to step into the truth of who you are and what you deserve. For too long, we've been breathing the stale air of limitation. We've been taught to worship scarcity as if it were a virtue, to embrace poverty as if it were spiritual, to believe that somehow, somewhere, God decided that his children should live in lack. But I'm here to tell you tonight that this is the greatest spiritual deception of our time. Look around you at this magnificent universe. Does anything in creation suggest a God of scarcity? The stars number in the billions, not 10, not 100, but billions upon billions, each one burning with perfect energy, suspended in infinite space by laws that never fail. The oceans contain more water than we could ever measure, teeming with life, supporting millions of creatures in an endless dance of abundance. Even a single seed contains the potential for hundreds of plants. A single tree can produce thousands of fruits. Your own body regenerates millions of cells without you ever having to think about it. Everything in creation screams abundance, overflow, more than enough. Only the human mind, separated from its source, invented the cruel myth of not enough. The deepest wound in human consciousness isn't hatred, isn't greed, isn't even violence. It's the belief in lack. This is the original sin of our modern world, the first lie, the first error, the first denial of our divine nature. It whispers in our ears from childhood. There isn't enough. You aren't enough. You don't deserve abundance. But where did this lie come from? It came from generations of people who forgot their true identity. It came from religions that preached a God of judgment rather than a God of love. It came from societies built on competition rather than cooperation. It came from the fundamental misunderstanding of our relationship with the divine. When we truly understand the nature of God, not as a distant judge keeping track of our failures, but as the very source of all good, everything changes. God is not poor, my friends. God is not stingy. God is not keeping a ledger of who deserves what. God is abundance itself, and if you are made in his image, then abundance is your natural state. The universe is not a zero-sum game. When you prosper, you don't take anything away from anyone else. When you succeed, you don't diminish another's chances. When you live in abundance, you become a beacon of possibility for everyone around you. Your success gives others permission to succeed. Your joy gives others permission to be joyful. Your prosperity reminds the world that God's goodness is available to all. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but what about humility? What about the virtue of poverty? Didn't Jesus say it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven? Let me share something that will liberate your soul. Poverty is not humility. Spiritual poverty and material lack are not the same thing. True humility is the recognition that all good comes from God. It's the understanding that we are channels, not sources. It's the willingness to receive God's gifts with gratitude and share them with joy. But to reject material good in the name of humility is to reject the very flow of life itself. It's like refusing to breathe because you think oxygen is too good for you. It's like hiding from the sun because you believe you don't deserve its warmth. Now let's talk about money, because I know this is where many of you start to feel uncomfortable. You've been taught that money is somehow dirty, that it's the root of all evil, that spiritual people shouldn't care about material things. But let me revolutionize your thinking about money right now. Money is not dirty. Money is not evil. Money is energy. Pure, neutral energy that takes on the character of the consciousness that handles it. Like electricity, it can light up a home, or it can cause harm, depending on how it's used. Like water, it can nourish life, or it can flood, depending on its direction. The problem isn't money itself. The problem is our relationship with money. Some people worship it, making it their god. Others fear it, pushing it away, as if it were poison. But both extremes come from the same misunderstanding. They give money power it doesn't have. Money is simply a tool. In the hands of a conscious person, it becomes an extension of love. It can feed the hungry, house the homeless, educate the ignorant, heal the sick. It can support art and beauty and truth. It can create opportunities and open doors. It can be a powerful force for good in the world. But here's what's crucial to understand. Money flows to those who have healed their relationship with it. If you secretly believe money is evil, your subconscious will repel it. If you're afraid of having too much, you'll sabotage your own success. If you think wealthy people are automatically greedy or shallow, you'll unconsciously avoid joining their ranks. But when you see money as God's energy in motion, when you understand that you can be both spiritual and prosperous, when you realize that your abundance can be a blessing to the world, then money begins to flow to you naturally, easily, joyfully. Now let's talk about the invisible barriers that keep abundance at arm's length. These aren't external obstacles. They're internal idols, mental constructs that we've unknowingly built and worshipped in the secret temples of our minds. The first idol is the idol of unworthiness. This is the voice that says, "Who am I to have abundance? I've made mistakes. I don't deserve good things. If God wanted me to prosper, He would have made it happen by now." This idol feeds on guilt and shame, growing stronger every time you focus on your failures instead of your potential. Here's the truth. God doesn't wait for you to become perfect before blessing you. His gifts aren't rewards for good behavior. They're expressions of His nature. You don't have to earn your inheritance. You just have to accept it. The second idol is the idol of suffering. This belief says that anything worthwhile must be achieved through pain, struggle, and sacrifice. It's the voice that makes you suspicious of good things that come easily, that makes you think you have to suffer your way to success. But grace operates without effort. The flower doesn't struggle to bloom. The sun doesn't strain to shine. True abundance flows naturally when you align with its source. You weren't born to suffer your way to fulfillment. You were born to allow the divine to fulfill its purpose through you. The third idol is the idol of comparison. This is the lie that says, if I have more, someone else will have less. It's the scarcity mindset that sees life as a competition rather than a collaboration. But God's abundance isn't limited. His blessings aren't rationed. When you prosper, you don't take anything away from anyone else. Instead, you become a proof of possibility. You become evidence that God's goodness is real and available. And here's where we get to the heart of everything. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are not at the mercy of fate. You are not powerless in the face of external conditions. You are a creative consciousness, made in the image of the Creator Himself. Every thought you think is a prayer. Every belief you hold is an instruction to the universe. Every expectation you carry is a magnet that draws experiences to you. This isn't mystical mumbo-jumbo. This is spiritual law, as real and reliable as gravity. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If you want to change what's happening around you, you must first change what's happening within you. This doesn't mean you're to blame for every difficulty you face. It means you're empowered to transform every situation you encounter. When you truly understand this principle, everything changes. You stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a creator. You stop reacting to life and start responding to it. You stop waiting for things to change and start being the change. But this power comes with responsibility. You must become conscious of your thoughts. deliberate in your beliefs, intentional in your expectations. You must guard your mind like a sacred garden, planting only seeds that will produce the harvest you desire. And prayer is not begging. Prayer is not pleading with a reluctant God to throw you a few crumbs from heaven's table. Prayer is alignment. Prayer is tuning your consciousness to the frequency of divine abundance. Prayer is remembering who you are and claiming what's already yours. When you pray effectively, you don't say, God, please give me what I lack. Instead, you say, thank you, God, for what you've already provided. I now open my heart to receive it. You don't pray from desperation. You pray from expectation. You don't pray to convince God to bless you. You pray to convince yourself to accept the blessing. The key to answered prayer is not the loudness of your voice or the length of your petition. It's the clarity of your intention and the purity of your faith. When you pray with absolute conviction that what you're asking for is already yours, it manifests with stunning speed. But prayer without action is incomplete. If you pray for abundance, you must also act abundantly. You must think abundantly, speak abundantly, give abundantly. You must align your entire being with the consciousness of prosperity. Now let's revolutionize your understanding of work. Work is not punishment for humanity's fall from grace. Work is not something you endure to pay the bills. Work is worship. Work is service. Work is the way you participate in the ongoing creation of the universe. When you work with love, when you serve with joy, when you give your best without resentment or reservation, you transform labor into prayer. You turn your workplace into a temple. You make your skills an offering to the divine. The universe rewards joyful service. When you work not just for a paycheck but for the satisfaction of contributing something meaningful to the world, opportunities multiply around you. Doors open. Connections form. Ideas flow. Success becomes not something you chase, but something that naturally flows to you. But remember, serving is not sacrificing. You don't have to burn yourself out to be valuable. You don't have to give until you're empty to be virtuous. True service comes from overflow, not from depletion. Take care of yourself first, so you can take care of others better. One of the most powerful secrets of prosperity is this: abundance is not about accumulation. It's about circulation. Money, like energy, must flow to stay healthy. When you hoard out of fear, you interrupt the natural circulation of good. When you give from love, you accelerate it. This is why the practice of tithing, giving a portion of your income to support spiritual work or charitable causes, is so powerful. It's not about paying God for his blessings. It's about demonstrating your faith in the inexhaustible nature of the source. When you give, you make a statement to the universe. I have so much that I can share. I trust so completely in the flow of abundance that I can let go without fear. And the universe responds to that vibration by sending more your way. But tithing isn't just about money. You can tithe your time by volunteering for causes you believe in. You can tithe your talents by using your skills to help others. You can tithe your attention by really listening to someone who needs to be heard. You can tithe your gratitude by acknowledging the good in your life. Every act of conscious giving is a key that unlocks greater abundance. Not because you're buying God's favor, but because you're aligning yourself with the fundamental law of the universe. What you give, you receive. Now let's talk about the kind of wealth that really matters. The riches of the soul. These are the treasures that can never be stolen, never be lost, never be diminished by economic downturns or market crashes. The first treasure is inner peace. Not the fragile calm that depends on everything going your way, but the deep serenity that remains steady even when the world is shaking. This peace comes from knowing that you are held by something greater than yourself, that you are loved beyond measure, that you are safe in the arms of the divine. The second treasure is joy without cause. Not the happiness that comes from getting what you want, but the joy that bubbles up from the simple fact of being alive. This joy doesn't depend on circumstances. It depends on your connection to the source of all joy. The third treasure is natural generosity, not the giving that comes from guilt or obligation, but the overflow of a heart that knows it can never be emptied. This generosity gives not because it has to, but because it gets to. It shares not from poverty, but from abundance. The fourth treasure is deep compassion. Not the pity that looks down on others, but the understanding that recognizes our fundamental unity. This compassion sees beyond appearances to the divine spark in every soul. The fifth treasure is intuitive wisdom, not the knowledge that comes from books alone, but the understanding that comes from communion with the divine. This wisdom knows what to do without being told, what to say without rehearsing, what to choose without agonizing. These are the riches that create all other riches. When you possess these treasures, external abundance becomes not a goal, but a natural consequence. The universe cannot help but respond to the vibration of a soul that is truly rich. And now we come to the most liberating truth of all. You have a divine inheritance, not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. You are an heir to the kingdom of heaven, and that kingdom includes everything you need for a life of joy, purpose, and abundance. This inheritance isn't something you have to earn. It's not a reward for good behavior. It's not contingent on your performance or your perfection. It's yours by divine right, by spiritual birthright, by the simple fact that you are a child of the Most High God. But like any inheritance, it must be claimed. It must be accepted. It must be received with gratitude and used with wisdom. Too many people live at the gates of their own abundance, looking through the keyhole at what could be theirs, but never quite believing they deserve to walk through the door. Your inheritance includes health, not just the absence of disease, but vibrant vitality that allows you to fulfill your purpose with energy and enthusiasm. Your inheritance includes relationships, not just any relationships, but connections that nurture your soul and support your growth. Your inheritance includes creative expression, the ability to bring beauty and meaning into the world through your unique gifts. And yes, your inheritance includes material prosperity, not obscene wealth that corrupts the soul, but abundant provision that allows you to live freely, give generously, and serve joyfully. Money is part of your inheritance because money is simply energy, and you have the right to have energy flowing through your life. So, how do you make this transformation? How do you shift from a consciousness of scarcity to a consciousness of abundance? It begins with a decision to no longer accept limitation as your reality. Start by examining your thoughts. What do you think about money? What do you believe about success? What do you expect from life? If your thoughts are dominated by lack, fear, and limitation, then that's what you'll experience. But if you can shift your thoughts to abundance, gratitude, and possibility, your entire world will begin to change. Practice gratitude daily, not just for the big things, but for the small ones. Gratitude is the fastest way to shift your consciousness from scarcity to abundance. When you focus on what you have, you automatically attract more to be grateful for. Speak differently. Instead of saying, "I can't afford it," say, "I'm choosing to spend my money on other things." Instead of saying, "I'm broke," say, "I'm temporarily between blessings." Instead of saying, "Money doesn't grow on trees," say, "Abundance flows to me from multiple sources." Act abundantly. If you want to attract abundance, you must act as if you already have it. This doesn't mean being foolish with money you don't have. It means carrying yourself with confidence, making decisions from faith rather than fear, and treating yourself and others with the respect that comes from knowing you're a child of the King. Give generously. Even if you don't have much, give something. Give your time, your attention, your skills, your prayers. Giving breaks the dam of scarcity and allows abundance to flow. And as you step into your divine inheritance, as you claim your right to abundance, remember that your prosperity is not just for you. It's for everyone whose life you touch. It's for the people you employ, the causes you support, the family you provide for, the community you serve. Your abundance is your contribution to the healing of the world. When you prosper, you prove that God's goodness is real. When you succeed, you demonstrate that dreams can come true. When you thrive, you give others permission to thrive as well. This is not about being selfish. This is about being useful. This is about becoming a conduit for God's love to flow into the world. This is about fulfilling your purpose as a co-creator with the divine. My friends, we've reached the moment of decision. You've heard the truth about your divine inheritance. You've learned about the illusion of scarcity and the reality of abundance. You've discovered the power of your thoughts and the importance of your beliefs. Now you must choose. Will you continue to live in the prison of limitation, or will you step into the freedom of abundance? Will you keep believing the lie that you're not worthy of good things, or will you embrace the truth that you're a beloved child of the divine? The choice is yours, and the time is now. Your abundance is waiting. Your prosperity is ready. Your divine inheritance is calling your name. Stand up right now, not just physically, but spiritually. Stand up in your consciousness. Stand up in your expectation. Stand up in your faith. Declare with me, I am a child of God, and I claim my divine inheritance. I release all beliefs in limitation. I embrace all possibilities for good. I open my heart to receive the abundance that is my birthright. And as you step into this new consciousness, as you claim your divine inheritance, here's what awaits you. You'll discover that opportunities appear where you never saw them before. Doors will open that you didn't even know existed. People will show up at just the right time with just the right resources. Ideas will flow to you like water from a spring. You'll find that money comes to you more easily, not because you're working harder, but because you're working smarter. Not because you're being greedy, but because you're being grateful. Not because you're demanding more, but because you're receiving what's already yours. You'll experience relationships that nourish your soul, work that fulfills your purpose, and health that energizes your body. You'll discover that abundance isn't just about having more, it's about being more. Most importantly, you'll become a beacon of hope for others. Your transformation will inspire their transformation. Your abundance will give them permission to be abundant. Your joy will kindle their joy. Your success will prove that their success is possible too. Now let me leave you with this eternal truth. You are enough. Not when you get the promotion. Not when you find the perfect relationship. Not when you reach some arbitrary goal. You are enough right now, in this moment, exactly as you are. Your divine inheritance is not a distant promise. It's a present reality. Your abundance is not a future possibility. It's a current truth. Your prosperity is not something you have to chase. It's something you simply have to accept. The kingdom of heaven is not a place you go to after you die. It's a consciousness you can enter right now. It's a way of thinking, a way of being, a way of living that transforms everything it touches. Welcome to your inheritance. Welcome to your abundance. Welcome to the life you were always meant to live. The door is open. The invitation is extended. The abundance is waiting. All you have to do is step through.
Good evening, my dear friends. Tonight I want to share with you the most powerful technique I have ever discovered for transforming imagination into reality. It is a method so simple that a child could understand it, yet so profound that it holds the secret to every miracle recorded in Scripture and every success story throughout human history. The technique I'm going to reveal tonight requires no special equipment, no years of study, no complex rituals or ceremonies. It requires only one thing, your ability to feel. But not just any feeling, the specific feeling that accompanies the fulfillment of your deepest desires. I call this technique Feel It Real, and it is based on the fundamental truth that your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a vividly felt imaginal experience and an actual physical experience. When you learn to feel your desires as already fulfilled, not as future possibilities but as present realities, you set in motion forces that must bring those desires into physical manifestation. The revelation of this truth came to me through a young woman who attended my lectures for months but experienced no change in her circumstances. She approached me one evening with tears of frustration. "Neville," she said, "I visualize every day just as you teach. I see myself in my ideal life with perfect clarity. But nothing happens. What am I doing wrong? I observed her for a moment and asked, "When you visualize your ideal life, how do you feel?" "I feel hopeful," she replied. "Sometimes excited about what could be." There was the problem. She was visualizing her desire while feeling hopeful about its future manifestation, rather than feeling the satisfaction of its present fulfillment. She was imagining from the consciousness of someone who didn't have her desire, rather than feeling from the consciousness of someone who already possessed it. I said to her, "Hope is the feeling you have when you believe something good might happen in the future. But I want you to feel something very different. I want you to feel the way you would feel if your desire had already happened, if it were already a completed fact in your life." I guided her through the process, step by step. "Close your eyes," I said, "and instead of seeing yourself getting your ideal life, I want you to feel yourself living it right now. What would you feel in your body if you woke up tomorrow morning and your dream life was already your reality? Feel that sensation of satisfaction, of completeness, of knowing that everything you desired has come to pass." She closed her eyes, and I watched her face change as she entered into this new feeling. "I can feel it," she whispered. "I feel peaceful, grateful, like everything is exactly as it should be." "That's it," I said. "That feeling of peaceful gratitude, that's the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Not excitement about what might happen, but deep satisfaction with what has already happened. Make that feeling so real that your body believes it's experiencing this fulfillment right now." I taught her to spend 15 minutes each evening before sleep, immersed in this feeling, not visualizing or thinking about her desire, but feeling the reality of its completion. "Let this feeling fill every cell of your body," I instructed. "Breathe with it, relax into it, let it become your natural state of being." Within 3 months, every aspect of her visualized life had manifested in her physical experience. Not because she had finally convinced her conscious mind that it was possible, but because she had convinced her subconscious mind that it was real. You see, the subconscious mind operates on the principle of feeling, not logic. It responds to the emotional conviction behind your mental images, not to the images themselves. You can create the most vivid, detailed visualizations imaginable, but if they are not accompanied by the feeling of their reality, they remain merely daydreams. But when you add the element of feeling, when you actually experience the emotions that would naturally accompany the fulfillment of your desire, something magical happens. Your subconscious accepts the imagined experience as real and begins to create external conditions that match your internal experience. This is why Jesus taught, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Notice that he didn't say, "Believe that you will receive it." He said, "Believe that you have received it." Feel the reality of having it right now. Let me tell you about a businessman who mastered this technique so completely that his colleagues began calling his results miraculous. He came to me struggling with a failing company and mounting debts. Traditional business advice hadn't worked, and he was facing bankruptcy. I taught him to ignore his current circumstances completely and instead spend time each day feeling the reality of his business success. Not hoping for success, not visualizing success, but feeling successful. "I want you to understand something crucial," I explained to him. "Your subconscious mind speaks the language of feeling, not logic. So we're going to give it a new set of feelings to work with." I guided him through the exact process. Every evening before sleep, lie in bed and close your eyes. Now feel what it would be like if your business was already thriving. Feel the deep satisfaction in your chest, the sense of accomplishment, the calm confidence that comes with success. Feel your shoulders relaxing as the stress of financial worry melts away. Feel your breathing becoming deeper and more peaceful. Experience the lightness in your body that comes with knowing your company is profitable and secure. Let these feelings become so real that your body responds as if this success is happening right now. "But how do I make it feel real when my circumstances say otherwise?" he asked. "By understanding that feeling is not dependent on circumstances," I replied. "Right now, close your eyes and feel what it's like to be confident about your business decisions. Feel the certainty in your solar plexus, the calm authority in your voice when you speak to clients. Make this feeling so convincing that your nervous system believes you are already the successful businessman you desire to be. I taught him to practice this feeling daily. Each morning before you check your financial reports, spend 5 minutes feeling successful. Feel the joy of leading a team that respects you, the satisfaction of providing excellent service, the peace of knowing your business serves its purpose beautifully. Within 6 months, his business had completely turned around. Opportunities appeared that he had never noticed before. Clients began seeking him out. His decision-making became more intuitive and effective. His entire approach to business had transformed because his feeling about business had transformed. The secret lies in understanding that feeling is the language of the subconscious mind. Your subconscious doesn't understand words or logic. It understands only the feeling behind your thoughts and images. When you consistently feel the reality of your desire fulfilled, you are speaking directly to your subconscious in its native language. But you must understand the difference between emotional excitement about getting something and the calm satisfaction of already having it. Many people confuse these two states. They get excited about the possibility of their desire manifesting and mistake this excitement for the feeling of fulfillment. Excitement about getting something in the future maintains you in the consciousness of not having it now. The feeling of fulfillment places you in the consciousness of already possessing it. These are completely different frequencies, and they produce completely different results. Let me share with you the story of a woman who wanted to manifest her ideal romantic relationship. For months, she would visualize meeting her perfect partner and feel excited about the possibility. But excitement about meeting someone affirms that you haven't met them yet. I taught her to shift from feeling excited about finding love to feeling loved. Instead of imagining meeting her ideal partner, she learned to feel what it was like to be in a loving relationship right now. Let me show you exactly how to do this, I said to her. Close your eyes and put your hand on your heart. Feel it beating. Now I want you to feel what it's like to be completely cherished by someone who adores you. Not the excitement of meeting them, but the warm, secure feeling of being loved right now. I guided her through the process. Feel that gentle warmth spreading through your chest. That's the feeling of being treasured. Feel your shoulders dropping as tension melts away. That's the feeling of being accepted completely. Feel a soft smile naturally forming on your lips. That's the feeling of being delighted in. Now, I continued, imagine lying in bed at night, but instead of feeling alone, feel the contentment of sharing your life with someone wonderful. Feel the peace of knowing you are chosen, valued, understood. Don't picture this person. Feel the emotions of being with them. Let your body relax into the security of being deeply loved. I instructed her to practice this daily. Each evening before sleep, spend 10 minutes feeling beloved. Feel the gratitude in your heart for having such a beautiful connection. Feel the ease of being yourself completely with someone who appreciates every part of you. Make this feeling so natural that it becomes your dominant emotional state. But won't I be disappointed when I wake up alone? She asked. No, I replied, because you're not waking up alone. You're waking up as someone who knows what it feels like to be loved. You're waking up in the consciousness of love. And consciousness always manifests as experience. Within 2 months, she met a man who perfectly matched not her visualization of what her ideal partner should look like, but the feeling of how her ideal relationship should feel. Their connection was immediate and deep because she was already living in the consciousness of being loved. This brings us to the most important aspect of feeling it real. You must feel from your desire, not think about your desire. When you think about something, you maintain separation from it. When you feel from something, you become one with it. For example, if you desire financial abundance, you don't want to feel excited about having money someday. You want to feel what it's like to be someone for whom abundance is natural and normal. You want to experience the calm confidence that comes with financial security, the freedom to make choices without monetary constraints, the joy of being able to help others generously. I remember a student who wanted to become a professional musician but was stuck playing small venues for little pay. He would visualize performing on grand stages and feel excited about his potential success. But excitement about future success kept him locked in present struggle. I taught him to feel like a successful musician right now. During his practice sessions, he would feel the satisfaction of mastering his craft. Before small performances, he would experience the gratitude of touching people's hearts through his music. He learned to feel worthy of musical success rather than hoping for it. As his feelings shifted from aspiring musician to accomplished artist, everything began to change. His performances became more confident and compelling. Opportunities for better venues started appearing. Within a year, he was performing professionally and supporting himself entirely through his music. The key is specificity in your feeling. You must know exactly how you would feel if your desire were already fulfilled. Not how you think you would feel, but how you actually would feel. This requires you to use your imagination to enter into the feeling state completely. If you desire perfect health, you must feel what it's like to wake up each morning with vitality and energy. Feel your body moving with ease and strength. Experience the joy of physical wellness and the gratitude for a body that serves you perfectly. If you desire a loving marriage, feel the security of being truly known and accepted by your partner. Experience the warmth of companionship, the joy of shared dreams, the peace of knowing you have found your life's companion. If you desire professional success, feel the satisfaction of work that fulfills you. Experience the confidence that comes with recognized expertise, the joy of making a meaningful contribution, the security of being valued for your unique gifts. But remember, you must feel these things as present realities, not future possibilities. Your subconscious mind creates from what you are feeling now, not from what you hope to feel someday. The drowsy state just before sleep is the most powerful time for this practice, because your conscious mind is relaxed and your subconscious is most receptive. In this state, settle into the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Don't work at it, don't strain, simply allow yourself to experience the natural emotions that would accompany the realization of your heart's desire. Let me tell you about perhaps the most dramatic example of this that I have ever witnessed. A mother came to me whose teenage daughter had been missing for over a week. The police had no leads, and she was consumed with worry and fear. I said to her, instead of feeling the anguish of loss, feel the joy of reunion. Instead of fearing the worst, feel the relief of your daughter's safe return. This seemed impossible to her given the circumstances, but she was desperate enough to try anything. Every night, she would feel her daughter's arms around her. She would experience the overwhelming gratitude of having her child home safe. She would feel the peace that comes with knowing her daughter was protected and loved. 5 days after she began this practice, her daughter returned home unharmed. She had been staying with friends during a teenage rebellion and had finally decided to come back. But for the mother, the return felt less like a surprise and more like the natural fulfillment of what she had been feeling all along. Now you might wonder, how do I maintain this feeling when my current circumstances seem to contradict it? How do I feel wealthy when my bank account is empty, or feel loved when I'm alone? The answer is that feeling it real is not about denying your current circumstances. It's about claiming a reality that exists in a higher dimension of consciousness. Your current circumstances reflect your past feeling states. Your future circumstances will reflect your present feeling states. When you feel it real, you're not pretending that your current situation doesn't exist. You're creating a new situation by embodying the feeling of what you desire. You're not lying to yourself about what is, you're impressing upon your subconscious what you choose to become. The feeling must be sustained consistently over time. One night of feeling wealthy will not overcome years of feeling poor, but persistent feeling, night after night, builds momentum in your subconscious until the new state becomes your natural way of being. This is why I always recommend making feeling it real a daily practice, especially in the moments before sleep. Just as a river carves a canyon through consistent flow over time, consistent feeling carves new patterns in your subconscious mind. Some people ask me whether they should feel it real during the day or only at night? My answer is feel it real whenever you remember to do so. But be particularly diligent about your feeling state before sleep, because the impressions made in the drowsy state penetrate most deeply into the subconscious. During your daily activities, catch yourself when you slip back into old feeling patterns. If you desire abundance but find yourself feeling anxious about money, gently redirect your attention to how abundance feels. If you desire love but catch yourself feeling lonely, shift into the feeling of being cherished. Remember, your feeling state in each moment is creating your future experience. You are always feeling something, and whatever you are feeling is what you are creating. The question is, are you feeling it deliberately or accidentally? I want to share one final story that illustrates the transformative power of sustained feeling. A young man came to me who had been unemployed for over a year. He had applied for countless jobs and faced rejection after rejection. His confidence was shattered, and he was beginning to believe he was unemployable. I taught him to stop feeling like someone who couldn't find work and start feeling like someone who was valued and needed. Every morning he would spend time feeling what it was like to wake up excited about his meaningful work. He would experience the satisfaction of using his talents effectively, the gratitude of earning good income, the joy of being appreciated by colleagues. But let me tell you exactly how I guided him through this process, because the method is everything. Sit comfortably. I instructed him, and close your eyes. I want you to feel, not visualize, but feel what it's like to wake up on a Monday morning excited about your work. Feel that sense of purpose rising in your chest. Feel the confidence in your stride as you prepare for a day of meaningful contribution. I continued guiding him. Now feel what it's like to use your natural talents in a role that appreciates them. Feel the satisfaction in your solar plexus when you complete a task skillfully. Feel the warm recognition from colleagues who value your unique abilities. Feel the security and gratitude that comes with earning good income for work you genuinely enjoy. But this feels like I'm lying to myself, he protested. You're not lying, I explained. You're feeling the truth of what you are in consciousness before it manifests in form. Your subconscious mind will accept these feelings as real experiences and begin creating circumstances that match them. I taught him to practice this daily. Each morning, spend 10 minutes feeling employed before you look at job listings. Feel the calm confidence of someone whose talents are recognized and needed. Feel the peace of someone who contributes value and receives value in return. Make these feelings so real that your body chemistry changes to match the emotional state of successful employment. Focus especially on the feeling in your chest, that warm sense of belonging and contribution. Feel it in your shoulders, the relaxed posture of someone who knows their worth. Feel it in your voice, the natural authority of someone who has something valuable to offer. Within 3 weeks, he was called for an interview for a position he hadn't even applied for. Someone had recommended him. Within 6 weeks, he was employed in a role that was better than anything he had previously imagined for himself. The key was that he had stopped feeling unemployed and started feeling employed. His subconscious mind, accepting this new feeling as reality, began to create circumstances that matched his internal state. This is the power and the promise of feeling it real. When you consistently feel the reality of your desire fulfilled, that feeling must manifest as objective experience. It is not a matter of if, but when. The subconscious mind has no choice but to express outwardly what is consistently impressed upon it inwardly. So tonight I invite you to choose one desire that is close to your heart. Before you sleep, enter into the feeling of that desire fulfilled. Not the hope of its fulfillment, not excitement about its possibility, but the actual feeling of its reality. Feel it as completely as you would feel it if it had already happened. Let your body respond to the reality of this feeling. Allow yourself to experience the natural emotions that would accompany the realization of this desire. Make this feeling so real, so vivid, so convincing that your subconscious mind accepts it as an actual experience. Then trust that this feeling will be faithfully reproduced in your external world. Feel it real, my friends. Feel it real, and watch as your inner world of feeling becomes your outer world of fact. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video.
You're here right now for a reason, not by chance, not by coincidence, but because something deep within you is ready to transform. Look around at your life. What do you see? Struggle, limitation, scarcity? Let me tell you something powerful. These conditions aren't your reality. They're simply the echo of your past thinking. Today marks the end of that old story and the beginning of your extraordinary new chapter. Most people spend their entire lives waiting for permission to be abundant. They think wealth comes from outside themselves, from the economy, their job, their connections, or pure luck. They are so wrong. The truth that's about to revolutionize your life is this. The wealth you seek isn't something you need to chase. It's already yours, coded into the fabric of your being, waiting for you to claim it. Your mind is the most powerful creative force in the universe. Every thought you think is like planting a seed in the fertile soil of infinite possibility. What seeds have you been planting? For most people, it's seeds of worry, doubt, and what-ifs. They wake up thinking about bills, stress about finances during the day, and fall asleep anxious about tomorrow. And then they wonder why abundance feels so elusive. From this moment forward, you're going to plant different seeds. Seeds of certainty, seeds of abundance, seeds of unstoppable success. When you reshape your inner world, your outer world has no choice but to follow. This isn't wishful thinking. It's the fundamental law that governs all creation. Everything you see around you, every building, every invention, every fortune, began as a single thought in someone's mind before it materialized in physical form. Your financial empire is no different. It already exists in perfect form within the realm of infinite possibility. Your job isn't to make it happen. It's to align yourself with it and allow it to flow into your experience. Society has programmed you with limiting beliefs about money. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard for every dollar. Rich people are just lucky. You need money to make money. These mental chains have kept you trapped in financial mediocrity. Today we shatter them. Money is nothing more than frozen energy, and energy by its very nature is abundant. It's everywhere. It's infinite. There's no shortage of electricity in the universe, and there's no shortage of money either. The only shortage exists in your thinking. From this moment forward, adopt this powerful truth. Money flows to me easily, abundantly, and from multiple directions. Feel the truth of those words. Let them sink into your consciousness. Money isn't your enemy. It's not scarce. It's not elusive. It's your natural state, just as health is your body's natural state. Here's what separates the wealthy from everyone else. They don't just want money, they expect it. They feel worthy of it. They're comfortable with it. Starting right now, you're going to think, feel, and act as if your financial abundance is already secured. When you walk with the confidence of someone who knows their financial future is brilliant. When you speak, use the language of prosperity. I can afford that. I'm a money magnet. Financial opportunities find me wherever I go. When you make decisions, make them from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. Ask yourself, what would a wealthy person do in this situation? Your brain cannot tell the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's real. When you consistently embody the feeling of already being wealthy, your subconscious mind accepts this as your reality and works tirelessly to bring it into physical form. Close your eyes right now and follow these steps. See yourself waking up in your dream home. Feel the luxurious sheets against your skin. Hear the sounds of peace and prosperity around you. Visualize opening your banking app and seeing millions in your accounts. Feel the deep sense of security and freedom this brings. Imagine making financial decisions without stress or worry, whether it's for yourself, your family, your business, or causes you care about. Feel the incredible sense of contribution as you use your wealth to make a difference in the world. This isn't daydreaming, this is advanced manifestation. You're literally programming your subconscious to recognize and attract these experiences. Do this visualization for just 5 minutes every morning and evening, and watch how rapidly your external reality begins to shift. Most people think success works like this: work hard, get results, feel good. But the universe operates in reverse. Feel good, attract results, work becomes inspired action. Your emotional state is like a powerful broadcast signal to the universe. When you feel prosperous, confident, and abundant, you literally become a human magnet for wealth. Here's how to accelerate this process. Number one, gratitude amplification. Every morning and evening, give thanks for the abundance that's already in your life and for the millions that are on their way. Gratitude instantly raises your energetic frequency. Number two, success immersion. Surround yourself with images, stories, and examples of wealth and success. Your environment shapes your expectations. Number three, prosperity language pattern. Eliminate phrases like "I can't afford it" or "that's too expensive." Replace them with "how can I afford this?" or "I'm choosing to invest elsewhere right now." Number four, wealth anchoring. Throughout your day, touch your thumb and forefinger together while feeling deep financial abundance. After doing this repeatedly, just this simple touch will instantly return you to that powerful state. But what about my current financial situation? I hear you asking. Your current circumstances are just the manifestation of your past thinking. They have absolutely zero power to determine your financial future unless you give them that power. When obstacles arise, and they will remember this powerful truth, obstacles are not stopping signs, they're directing signs. Every challenge you face is actually guiding you toward your wealth. It's either testing your commitment, are you serious about this? Teaching you a necessary skill, redirecting you to a better path, or strengthening you for the journey ahead. The universe doesn't send problems, it sends growth opportunities. When you embrace this mindset, nothing can stop you. Financial setbacks become setups for even greater comebacks. Most people approach wealth creation with a try and see attitude. They think, "I'll try this approach and see if it works." This half-hearted commitment guarantees mediocre results. From this moment forward, your financial success is not a possibility. It's an inevitability. There is no if, only when. This certainty creates a powerful, energetic alignment that accelerates your manifestation timeline dramatically. When you know something is yours, you stop wavering, stop doubting, and stop undermining your own progress. The path to your millions may not be a straight line. It may twist and turn in ways you cannot currently imagine. But that's not your concern. Your job is simply to hold the vision of your wealth with unshakable certainty, follow the inspired actions that arise from that vision, and trust the process completely. The universe will handle the details. It will orchestrate circumstances, opportunities, and connections in ways far more ingenious than your conscious mind could ever plan. Your wealth isn't coming someday. It's not in some distant future. It's here now, the moment you fully commit to claiming it. Make this declaration with me. I now step fully into my financial power. The millions I desire are already mine in consciousness, and therefore must manifest in my experience. I release all doubt, all fear, and all attachment to how it will happen. I trust the infinite intelligence of the universe to bring my wealth to me in perfect timing and in ways that serve the highest good of all. I am ready, I am worthy, I am abundant, and so it is. Feel the power of those words. This isn't just a statement, it's a binding contract with the universe. The moment you truly commit to this declaration, unseen forces begin moving heaven and earth to bring your financial empire into reality. There are two paths before you. Path one, continue with your old patterns of thinking about money and inevitably receive the same financial results you've always gotten. Path two, embrace these principles fully, embody them daily, and watch as your financial reality transforms beyond recognition. The choice is yours. But if you're still listening to these words, I know which path you're choosing. You're ready to step into the extraordinary financial abundance that has been waiting for you all along. Your millions aren't just possible, they're inevitable. Welcome to your new reality. Welcome to your extraordinary life of abundance. It begins now. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you've resonated with these ideas, remember that this awareness alone is the first step toward transformation. Starting today, I invite you to become more conscious of where you direct your precious attention. Notice when you're giving energy to things you don't want, and practice gently redirecting your focus toward what you wish to cultivate. The universe is always listening, always responding. Your reality is being shaped in every moment by the quality of your attention. If this message has served you, please consider subscribing and sharing with someone who might benefit. I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, and I look forward to continuing this journey together. Until next time, remember, your attention is your superpower. Use it wisely and watch your world transform.
Right now, as you're listening to these words, you possess the most powerful creative force in the universe, and most people never realize it exists. This force has shaped every great achievement in human history, built every empire, created every masterpiece, and solved every problem that seemed impossible. Yet it sits dormant in most minds, waiting to be awakened and unleashed upon the world. What I'm about to share with you isn't just theory or philosophy. It's a practical system that will fundamentally change how you approach every desire, every goal, and every dream you've ever held. The power I'm speaking of is your imagination, and today you're going to discover how to harness it to create the life you've always wanted. Most people live their entire lives completely unaware of the creative power that lies dormant within their imagination. They bow before the harsh dictates of their current circumstances, accepting life based solely on what they can see and touch in the world around them. They become prisoners of their present reality, never realizing they hold the master key to unlimited possibilities. But when you truly discover this creative power within yourself, when you understand how to wield it with precision and purpose, you will boldly assert the supremacy of imagination over every limitation that has ever held you back. You will put all things in subjection to your creative vision, transforming not just your circumstances, but your entire destiny. Here's what most people don't understand. When we speak of the divine creative force within human beings, we're talking about nothing other than your imagination. This is the creative power that shapes reality itself. There is absolutely nothing under heaven that isn't as malleable as potter's clay to the touch of your focused, purposeful imagination. Let me share a story that will illustrate just how powerful this force truly is, and why you should never doubt its ability to transform your life completely. I once knew a man who loved to listen to teachings about imagination, but whenever he heard these concepts, he would nervously touch his chair with his fingers and push his feet firmly into the rug beneath him, desperately trying to keep his sense of physical reality intact. He was afraid to let go of what he could see and feel, afraid to trust in the invisible power of his creative mind. But let me tell you about someone who didn't need to touch anything to keep herself grounded. Someone who trusted completely in the power of her imagination and witnessed it transform her life in the most extraordinary way. She was just 17 years old, and it was Christmas Eve. Her heart was heavy with grief, because earlier that year, she had lost her father in a tragic accident. Now she was returning home to what felt like an empty house, working as a waitress because she had no other training or skills to fall back on. On this particular night, it was quite late, and rain was falling steadily as she rode the streetcar home. The car was filled with laughing young people returning from their Christmas vacations, their joy only emphasizing her loneliness and despair. Tears began streaming down her face, but fortunately the rain provided perfect cover for her sorrow. Then something remarkable happened. Instead of surrendering to her circumstances, this young woman made a conscious decision to use her imagination to transform her reality. As she held onto the rail of that streetcar, feeling the motion and hearing the sounds around her, she closed her eyes and made a powerful declaration. This is not rain falling on my face. This is spray from the ocean, carried by the sea breeze. This salty taste I'm experiencing isn't from my tears of sadness. It's the salt of the sea in the wind. And this isn't a streetcar traveling through San Diego. This is a ship, and I'm approaching the beautiful Bay of Samoa. She didn't just think these thoughts casually. She felt them with every fiber of her being. She gave her imagination complete sensory vividness, making the experience so real that she could actually feel herself on that ship, approaching that distant shore. She maintained this powerful visualization until the streetcar journey ended, and she had to return to her physical reality. Here's where the story becomes truly extraordinary, and why you should pay very close attention to what I'm about to tell you. Just 10 days after this imaginative experience, this young woman received a letter from a law firm in Chicago. The letter informed her that several years earlier, when her aunt had sailed for Europe, she had deposited $3,000 with specific instructions if she did not return to America. This money should be paid to her niece. The firm had just received confirmation of the aunt's death and were now acting upon her instructions, sending this young woman enough money to completely change her circumstances. 1 month later, exactly 1 month after her imaginative journey on that rainy streetcar, this young woman found herself on an actual ship sailing toward Samoa. As she came into the bay late that night, there was indeed salt of the sea in the wind. It wasn't raining, but there was spray in the air, and she experienced the exact same sensations she had imagined just weeks before, only this time, she had realized her objective in physical reality. This story illustrates a profound technique that I want to teach you today. A method for putting your wonderful imagination directly into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, allowing it to remain there while you fall asleep in that state of accomplishment. I can promise you from my own extensive experience that if you can actually feel yourself living in the reality of your fulfilled desire, and if you continue in that feeling until you fall asleep, you will inevitably realize that state in your physical world. The process works like this. You must feel yourself completely into the situation of your fulfilled desire, remaining there until you give it all the tones of reality, until you provide it with all the sensory vividness that you're capable of generating. As you maintain this state and quietly fall into sleep, you set in motion forces that will move you across a series of events, leading you toward the objective realization of your desired state. You could never consciously devise the means that will be employed to bring your vision into reality, but that's not your job. Your job is simply to feel the reality of your fulfilled desire with such intensity that it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. And here is the practical technique that will transform your life if you apply it consistently and with complete faith in its power. First, you must know exactly what you want in this world. Clarity is absolutely essential. Vague desires produce vague results, but crystal clear intentions, backed by emotional intensity, create miraculous transformations. Once you know exactly what you want, create as lifelike a representation as possible of what you would see, what you would touch, and what you would do if you were already living in that desired state. For example, suppose you wanted a beautiful home, but currently had no money to purchase one. Instead of focusing on your current limitations, you would create a detailed mental image of the exact home you desire, complete with all the furnishings and features that would bring you joy. Then, each night as you prepare for sleep, you would enter a drowsy, relaxed state that borders upon sleep. In this receptive condition, you would imagine that you are actually living in that house. You would mentally step off your current bed and onto the floor of your dream home. You would move from room to room, touching the furniture and feeling it to be solidly real under your hands. While you are touching and experiencing this imaginary house with complete sensory involvement, you would allow yourself to drift into natural sleep, maintaining the feeling of actually being there until consciousness fades into slumber. This same technique can be applied to achieve success in any area of your life. If you desired a promotion in your career, you would ask yourself what additional responsibilities would be yours if you received this advancement. What would you do differently? What would you say? How would you act? What would others say to you? Then, in your imagination, you would begin to see, touch, and act exactly as you would if you already held that position. You would give yourself the full sensory experience of living in that elevated state until it becomes completely real to your subconscious mind. If you were seeking your ideal romantic partner, you would imagine yourself already in that loving relationship. You would feel the reality of being loved and cherished, perhaps even imagining yourself wearing a wedding ring, if marriage is your goal. You would touch that imaginary ring repeatedly, feeling its weight and texture until it seems completely real to your senses. The key is to maintain these imagined experiences until they arouse within you the exact feelings you would have if they were already your reality. Then you sleep in that state of fulfillment, allowing your subconscious mind to work out the details of manifestation. This technique has been taught throughout history by the world's greatest spiritual teachers, though it was often presented in symbolic form that many people misunderstood as mere historical accounts. The secret lies in centering your imagination completely in the feeling of your wish fulfilled and remaining there with unwavering faith. Your capacity to live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled is directly proportional to your capacity to live the more abundant life that is your birthright. Most people are afraid to imagine themselves as important, noble, and successful individuals who make significant contributions to the world. This fear exists because the moment we begin to assume a greater version of ourselves, our logical mind and physical senses immediately deny the truth of our assumption. We feel gripped by an unconscious urge that makes us cling desperately to the familiar world of our current limitations, resisting everything that threatens to tear us away from our seemingly safe but ultimately restrictive circumstances. Here's a crucial distinction that will determine your success or failure with this method. There is a vast difference between thinking of what you want and thinking from what you want. When you think of your desires, you remain in your current state, looking at your goals as distant possibilities. But when you think from your desires, when you assume the feeling of already having them, you occupy that state mentally and emotionally, making it your current reality in consciousness. Imagination puts you in touch with a world of infinite states and possibilities. These states are not mere fantasies. They are real, existing potentials that become overpoweringly real when you think from them and dwell within them consistently. Let me share a personal experience that will demonstrate the incredible power of this technique when applied with complete faith and persistence. In 1933, while living in New York City, an old friend taught me this principle by referencing a passage from Scripture. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. He explained that these mansions were not physical buildings in some distant heaven, but rather the states of consciousness we can occupy through imagination. He told me that if I would make a living representation of any desired state, and then enter that state and abide in it, I would inevitably realize it in my physical experience. At that time, I wanted to make a trip to the island of Barbados in the West Indies, but I had no money for such a journey. Following his instruction, each night as I fell asleep in my New York apartment, I assumed that I was sleeping in my father's house in Barbados. For 1 full month, night after night, I maintained this assumption as I drifted into sleep. At the end of that month, I received an invitation from my family, inviting me to spend the winter in Barbados. I sailed for Barbados in early December of that year, and from that moment forward, I knew I had discovered the most powerful creative force within myself. Here's an advanced technique that will accelerate your progress and help you overcome past disappointments and setbacks. I call it the art of revision, and it's something you should practice daily. Each night before sleep, instead of simply reviewing your day and accepting everything that happened as final, you should mentally revise the day's events to conform to your ideals. If you receive disappointing news, revise that news mentally and imagine receiving the information you wished you had gotten instead. If you didn't receive a letter or call you were hoping for, imagine that you did receive it and feel the satisfaction of that positive communication. If you had a difficult conversation with someone, replay that conversation in your mind with a completely different, more positive outcome. Let me share a remarkable example of how this revision technique worked for one woman who heard me speak about these principles. This lady had been ordered out of her daughter-in-law's home 2 years earlier, and there had been no communication between them since. She had sent her grandson at least 24 presents during this time, but not one had ever been acknowledged. After learning about revision, she decided to take action. Each night as she prepared for sleep, she mentally constructed 2 letters, one from her grandson and one from her daughter-in-law. In these imaginary letters, both expressed deep affection for her and wondered why she hadn't visited them. For 7 consecutive nights, she held these imaginary letters in her mind, reading them over and over until they aroused within her the complete satisfaction of having actually received such communications. Then she would fall asleep in that state of fulfillment. On the 8th day, she received an actual letter from her daughter-in-law. Inside that envelope were 2 letters, one from her grandson and one from the daughter-in-law. These real letters practically duplicated word for word the imaginary letters she had been reading to herself for the previous week. This art of revision and creative imagination can be powerfully applied to matters of health and healing. If you're dealing with illness or injury, bring before your mind's eye the image of a trusted friend or family member. Put upon their face an expression that implies they see you as completely healthy and vibrant. Imagine them saying to you that they've never seen you look better, and hear yourself replying with complete conviction, "I have never felt better." If you have a specific physical issue, construct a mental drama that implies you are doing all the activities you would do if that condition were completely healed. Repeat this imaginative exercise over and over until it takes on the complete tones of reality in your mind. Whatever you repeatedly do in your imagination, you will eventually do in your outer world. This is not wishful thinking. This is a precise psychological and spiritual law. The one essential requirement for success with this method is to arouse your attention in such a way and to such intensity that you become wholly absorbed in your revised or desired reality. When you achieve this level of mental and emotional involvement, you will experience an expansion and refinement of your senses through this imaginative exercise. Eventually, you will achieve clear vision in the inner world of imagination, and this inner vision will inevitably manifest as outer experience. The abundant life that has been promised to humanity is yours to enjoy right now, but only when you recognize and utilize the creative power of your imagination. Persistent imagination, centered completely in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, is the secret of all successful operations. This alone is the means of fulfilling every intention and realizing every dream. Every stage of human progress is made possible by the conscious, voluntary exercise of imagination. This is why all great poets and visionaries throughout history have emphasized the supreme importance of controlled, vivid imagination. As the great William Blake wrote, "In your own bosom you bear your heaven and earth, and all you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow." The time has come for you to test this power for yourself. Choose one specific desire that matters deeply to you, something that would genuinely improve your life and bring you lasting happiness. Create a clear, detailed mental image of yourself already living in the reality of that fulfilled desire. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, assume the feeling of already having this desire completely realized. Maintain that assumption with sensory vividness until you drift into natural sleep. Continue this practice night after night with unwavering faith and persistence. I can promise you this: if you apply this technique with consistency and complete belief in its power, you will prove to yourself that your imagination is indeed the creator of your reality. You will join the ranks of those who have discovered humanity's greatest secret, that we are all equipped with the divine power to consciously create our lives through the proper use of imagination. The question is not whether this power exists, it does. The question is whether you will have the courage and persistence to use it. Your future is waiting for you to create it. The time to begin is now.
Have you ever felt stuck or frustrated with trying too hard to manifest your desires? If your answer is yes, this video is for you. Today we'll explore the idea that you don't have to struggle or stress to create the life you want. Instead, you only need to embrace the understanding that it's already yours. Manifestation often feels like a strenuous task, one that requires immense effort, focus, and constant action. But what if I told you that the most powerful form of manifestation is effortless? It isn't about sitting idly by or being passive. Instead, it's about aligning with the natural flow of the universe. Effortless manifestation occurs when you let go of the need to control every detail. It's about trusting that the universe is working in your favor, even when you can't see the full picture. This doesn't mean you stop taking action, but rather that your actions come from a place of ease and alignment, not struggle and force. Consider the metaphor of a river. When you're in alignment, you're flowing downstream, effortlessly moving towards your desires. But when you try too hard, it's like swimming upstream against the current, expending unnecessary energy. Effortless manifestation is about trusting the flow, knowing that everything is already set in motion. The key to effortless manifestation is embracing the concept that it's already yours. But what does this truly mean? When you understand that everything you desire already exists in some form in the universe, you shift from a mindset of lack to one of abundance. It's not about trying to create something from nothing. It's about allowing what already exists to manifest in your reality. Think of it like planting a seed. When you plant a seed, you don't need to worry or stress about it growing. You trust that with the right conditions, it will naturally sprout and flourish. The same applies to your desires. There are seeds you've already planted in the universe. All you need to do is nurture them with belief, positive energy, and aligned action. Believing that it's already yours means recognizing that the universe is abundant and that there's no need to compete or struggle for what you want. When you release the need to try so hard, you allow the universe to deliver your desires in the most perfect way, often in ways you couldn't have imagined. To fully embrace effortless manifestation, it's crucial to align your mindset and beliefs with the understanding that your desires are already yours. This requires reprogramming any limiting beliefs that might be holding you back. Start by examining your current beliefs around manifestation and abundance. Do you believe that things have to be hard? Do you think you have to struggle to achieve your goals? These beliefs can create resistance and block the flow of manifestation. Shift your mindset to one of ease and flow. Replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. For example, instead of thinking, I have to work hard to manifest my desires, try thinking, I allow my desires to come to me effortlessly. This subtle shift in language and mindset can make a world of difference. Another powerful practice is visualization. Visualize yourself already living your desired reality. Feel the emotions, the joy and the satisfaction of having what you want. The more vividly you can imagine it, the more real it becomes in your mind, and the easier it becomes to manifest it into your reality. The universe mirrors your beliefs and emotions. If you believe it's already yours, the universe will align to make that your reality. But if you hold on to doubts or fears, you'll manifest those instead. So, choose to believe in the ease and abundance of the universe. Here are some practical techniques for effortless manifestation that you can incorporate into your daily life. Meditation and mindfulness. Take time each day to quiet your mind and connect with your inner self. Meditation helps you release resistance and align with the flow of the universe. In this state of calm, you become a magnet for your desires. Scripting. Write about your desires as if they've already happened. Describe in detail how your life looks, feels, and what you're experiencing. This practice helps solidify the belief that it's already yours. Gratitude. Cultivate an attitude of gratitude. By appreciating what you already have, you attract more of it into your life. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to abundance, making manifestation effortless. Letting go. Release the need to control how and when your desires will manifest. Trust that the universe knows the perfect timing. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means surrendering to the flow and trusting the process. Affirmations. Use positive affirmations to reprogram your subconscious mind. Affirmations like, I am a powerful creator. Everything I desire flows to me effortlessly, and I am worthy of all the good things. Reinforce your belief in effortless manifestation. These techniques, when practiced consistently, will help you align with the effortless flow of the universe. Remember, it's not about doing more, it's about aligning more. The more you align, the less effort you need to manifest your desires. Remember that manifestation isn't about trying harder, it's about trusting deeper. It's about knowing that your desires are already yours and allowing them to manifest in their own perfect time. Let's end with some powerful affirmations. I trust the universe to bring my desires to me effortlessly. I am aligned with the flow of abundance and prosperity. Everything I desire is already mine, and I am grateful for it. I let go of all resistance and allow my desires to manifest easily. I am a powerful creator, and I attract all that I need effortlessly. And that's it for the day. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to share your thoughts and insights in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it already. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.
My dear friends, what I'm about to share with you will challenge everything you believe about chance, luck, and the nature of reality itself. In the span of just 2 weeks, I won the lottery not once, not twice, but 3 times. First $1,500, then $2 million, and finally $135 million. Before you dismiss this as impossible coincidence, let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. There was no luck involved. What happened was the inevitable result of a law as reliable as gravity itself. Let me paint the scene for you. It began with what seemed like a small win, just $1,500. I had been practicing what I teach you all, living in the end. For months, I had been assuming the feeling of being financially free, not hoping for it, not wishing for it, but living from that assumption as though it were already my reality. When I won that first $1,500, I recognized it for what it truly was. Not a lucky break, but the first physical manifestation of an assumption I had been holding faithfully in consciousness. I wasn't purchasing lottery tickets with desperate hope. I was simply collecting what was already mine. You see, in consciousness, I had already won. The physical world was merely catching up to reflect my inner state. But here's where it gets interesting. And this is something most people will never understand about manifestation. 7 days later, I won $2 million. The progression wasn't random. It was the law demonstrating itself in escalating fashion. But the universe wasn't finished showing me the power of unwavering assumption. Exactly 1 week after the $2 million win, 14 days from that first $1,500, I won again, $135 million this time. 3 wins in 2 weeks. The mathematical probability, astronomically impossible. But I'm here to tell you that probability has nothing to do with it. The secret I'm about to reveal has been hidden in plain sight for centuries, and once you grasp it, you'll never look at your circumstances the same way again. Your words are creative commands. Every word you speak is a command to your subconscious mind. Not a request, a command. Your subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't question whether you deserve what you're commanding. It simply accepts and begins to rearrange your world to match your words. Most people walk through life unconsciously cursing themselves. They say, I never have enough money, and their subconscious obediently ensures they never have enough. They declare, I'm always struggling, and struggle becomes their faithful companion. But when you understand that your words are creative forces, you begin to choose them with the same care a sculptor chooses his chisel strokes. Each word is either building your desired reality or destroying it. Before my 3 consecutive wins, I had developed the habit of speaking as if wealth was already mine. I would say, I am so grateful that money flows to me effortlessly. Not I hope money will flow to me, but money flows to me, present tense, accomplished fact. With each win, first the $1,500, then the $2 million, then the $135 million, I felt no surprise. Only confirmation. Each victory was simply consciousness proving to me that assumption, when held with unwavering faith, must manifest in the physical world. I discovered something profound. Whatever you assume to be true, regardless of current evidence, will eventually manifest as your reality. This isn't positive thinking. This is understanding how consciousness creates reality. What I'm about to tell you next is the exact mental technique I used, and it's so simple that most people dismiss it as too easy to work. For months before my winning streak began, every night before sleep, I would enter what I call the state akin to sleep, that drowsy, receptive state between waking and sleeping. In this state, I would assume the feeling of financial freedom, not the future feeling, but the present feeling. I would imagine checking my bank balance and seeing millions. I would feel the security, the freedom, the joy of knowing I could help my family, travel anywhere, live without financial concern. But here's the crucial part. I wouldn't think this will happen someday. I would think this is my reality. That's what I'm teaching you too, to learn to live in the end, to assume that your desire is already fulfilled, and to maintain that assumption regardless of current circumstances. This isn't about pretending or lying to yourself. It's about understanding that consciousness is the only reality, and everything else is simply its reflection. The months leading up to my winning streak, I lived as a wealthy man who hadn't yet seen his wealth reflected in the physical world. I carried myself differently. I thought differently. I spoke differently. Not because I was pretending, but because in consciousness, in the only reality that matters, I was wealthy. The $1,500 win was consciousness giving me a small sign. The $2 million was the law gaining momentum. The $135 million was the full flowering of an assumption held with absolute faith. But here's where most people make the fatal mistake that keeps them trapped in lack forever. The mistake of seeking evidence. The greatest obstacle to manifestation is the need to see evidence before believing. Most people say, I'll believe it when I see it. But the law works in reverse. You'll see it when you believe it. After assuming my wealth for months, there were many times when my physical circumstances seemed to contradict my assumption. Bank statements showed the same modest amounts. Bills arrived as usual. Everything in the physical world suggested I was the same person I'd always been. But I had learned that the physical world is always the last to know. It's simply a shadow cast by consciousness. Shadows don't create, they only reflect. Your outer world is the shadow of your inner world. So when physical evidence seemed to contradict my assumption, I didn't waver, even between wins, after the $1,500, but before the $2 million, after the $2 million, but before the $135 million, I held firm to what I knew to be true in consciousness. This is what I mean when I say, faith is loyalty to the unseen reality. And your subconscious mind learns through repetition. Every thought you think repeatedly becomes a groove in consciousness, and your life flows along these grooves like water follows a riverbed. I made it a daily practice to repeat my assumption. I am abundantly wealthy. Money flows to me from multiple sources. I am financially free. I repeated these statements not as empty affirmations, but as statements of fact. The same way you might say, my name is Jim, or I live at Station Road. What happened next will show you exactly why most people's affirmations fail, and the one crucial element that makes all the difference. The key was feeling. Feeling is the secret. You can repeat words all day, but if they don't carry the feeling of truth, they're just noise. When I affirmed my wealth, I felt wealthy. I felt the relief, the security, the freedom that comes with financial abundance. This feeling tone is what impresses the subconscious. Your subconscious doesn't respond to words. It responds to the emotional conviction behind those words. One of the most powerful techniques I employed was gratitude in advance. Instead of waiting to be grateful after receiving my wealth, I was grateful for it while it was still invisible to the physical senses. Every morning, I would say, thank you for my financial abundance. Thank you that money comes to me easily and effortlessly. Thank you for my freedom to live without financial worry. This wasn't hoping or wishing. This was thanking for something I knew was already mine. Gratitude in advance is the ultimate expression of faith. It says, I'm so confident in the reality of my assumption that I'm already grateful for its fulfillment. Here's a paradox that confuses many. The more desperately you want something, the longer it takes to manifest. Why? Because desperation implies lack, and the law can only give you more of what you predominantly feel. After setting my assumption in motion, I practiced what I call the Sabbath. I rested from my labor. I didn't obsessively check lottery results or frantically buy more tickets. I had done the inner work. Now I trusted the law to do the outer work. The morning of my first win, something extraordinary happened that revealed the true nature of how manifestation works. I went about my normal routine with complete calm. There was no anxiety, no desperate hoping, no need to make anything happen. I moved through the day, knowing that everything was unfolding perfectly according to the assumption I had been faithfully maintaining. When the first $1,500 came, I felt a quiet, of course. It wasn't shock or disbelief, but recognition, like remembering something I had temporarily forgotten rather than discovering something new. The $2 million that followed a week later carried the same feeling, but amplified. I was watching consciousness demonstrate its creative power in escalating fashion. And when the final win came, $135 million, I understood that consciousness had been proving the law to me step by step. 3 wins in 14 days isn't luck, it's law. It's the physical world conforming to an assumption that had been held with unwavering faith, building momentum with each manifestation. My dear friends, I share this story not to boast, but to prove to you that the law is real, reliable, and available to everyone. You don't need to win the lottery 3 times to prove it to yourself. You can start with smaller demonstrations and work your way up, just as consciousness demonstrated to me with $1,500, then $2 million, then $135 million. Choose something you desire, not something impossible, but something that would bring you joy and prove the law to you. Assume it's already yours. Feel grateful for it. Live from that assumption regardless of current circumstances. And most importantly, persist in that assumption until it hardens into fact. Remember, you are not a victim of circumstances. You are the creator of them. The same power that allowed me to win over $137 million in just 2 weeks lives within you. It's not a special gift reserved for a chosen few. It's the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. You are consciousness. You are the operant power in your world. Everything you see around you, every building, every invention, every work of art, began as an assumption in someone's mind. They assumed it was possible, held that assumption with feeling, and watched it manifest in the physical world. Your assumptions of today are your world of tomorrow. Choose them wisely, assume the best, live in the end, and watch as your world transforms to match the magnificence of your imagination. The law knows no favorites. The law of assumption doesn't care about your background, your education, your current circumstances, or your past failures. It only responds to your current assumptions about yourself and your world. I've seen people transform their entire lives by simply changing what they assume to be true about themselves. Health conditions disappear when people assume perfect health. Relationships heal when people assume love and harmony. Businesses flourish when owners assume success and abundance. The law is impersonal and impartial. It works for everyone who works with it. Your only requirement is faith, not faith in some external power, but faith in the creative power of your own consciousness. Today, right now, you can begin to assume yourself to be the person you wish to be. You can assume your desires are already fulfilled. You can thank God for what is yours in consciousness, even before it appears in the world of shadows. Just as I held my assumption faithfully through 3 escalating wins over 14 days. This is not a theory to be debated. It is a law to be demonstrated. Go now and prove it to yourself. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Persist in that assumption, and watch as your world rearranges itself to confirm what you have dared to assume. Your greatest days are not behind you. They are ahead of you, waiting for you to claim them through the power of assumption. The same consciousness that brought me more than $100 million in 2 weeks is the consciousness you possess right now. Use it wisely, use it boldly, use it with unwavering faith. Thank you, and may your assumptions manifest with speed and grace. What if I told you that every struggle in your life, every sleepless night spent worrying, every moment you've spent trying to figure out how, what if all of that was completely unnecessary? My friends, I want you to imagine for a moment that you've been carrying a heavy suitcase up a mountain, only to discover that there was an elevator all along. That suitcase is your overthinking mind. And the elevator, that's what I'm about to share with you today. You see, from the moment you could speak, you were taught that thinking harder would solve your problems. Your parents said, think before you act. Your teachers demanded, think critically. Society programmed you to believe that the mind is your greatest asset. But here's what they never told you. Your mind was never meant to be the architect of your reality. It was meant to be the carpenter. Right now, as you listen to these words, your mind is probably racing. It's asking, but how can I stop thinking? How will I solve my problems? What about my responsibilities? You see, even now, it's trying to maintain control. I spent years watching people exhaust themselves with mental gymnastics. They analyze every decision to death. They worry about futures that may never come. They replay past mistakes like broken records. And what do they have to show for it? More confusion, more anxiety, more of the same results they're trying to escape. The truth is this: your conscious mind is like a flashlight in a dark room. It can only illuminate what it's pointed at, but it cannot see the whole room at once. There is a greater intelligence, a cosmic mind, if you will, that sees everything simultaneously. And here's the remarkable part: you have access to it the moment you stop interfering. But before I tell you how to access this cosmic intelligence, let me ask you something that might disturb you. What if the very thing you think is helping you is actually the biggest obstacle to everything you want? I want you to consider something profound. Every time you've had a breakthrough in your life, every moment of sudden clarity, every aha moment, every time the perfect solution appeared out of nowhere, where did that come from? Was it from hours of thinking, or did it arrive in a moment of stillness, when your mind finally became quiet? Think about it. The greatest inventions, the most beautiful art, the most profound discoveries, they didn't come from forcing the mind to work harder. They came from what we call inspiration, literally meaning in spirit. They came when the individual became a clear channel for something greater than their personal thinking. But here's where most people get it wrong. They experience these moments of divine guidance, and then immediately try to figure out how to make it happen again. They turn inspiration into a mental exercise, and in doing so, they close the very channel through which it came. The universe doesn't need your help in figuring out the how. It only needs your permission to work through you. I remember a student who came to me, desperate to save his failing business. He had spreadsheets, business plans, marketing strategies. His office looked like a war room. "Neville," he said, "I've thought of everything, but nothing works." I told him something that shocked him. Stop thinking about your business for 1 week. Instead, spend that time imagining how it feels to be successful. See yourself shaking hands with satisfied customers. Feel the weight of prosperity. Hear people praising your success. But don't think about how to make it happen. He thought I was crazy, but he was desperate enough to try. 3 days into this practice, he received an unexpected phone call that led to the largest contract of his career. The solution came not from his thinking, but from his being. Now here's where it gets really interesting, and this might completely change how you see yourself. You are not who you think you are. The person you believe yourself to be is just a collection of past thoughts and experiences. But your true self, that's something entirely different. Your assumptions shape everything. Every experience in your life, every relationship, every opportunity, every setback is a direct reflection of what you assume to be true about yourself and your world. Not what you hope to be true, Not what you think should be true, but what you actually assume in the depths of your being. Most people live unconsciously, allowing their assumptions to be shaped by external circumstances. They see struggle, so they assume life is hard. They experience rejection, so they assume they're not worthy of love. They face financial challenges, so they assume money is scarce. But here's the secret that changes everything. You can choose your assumptions. Let me share something that might sound impossible. Reality is not fixed. What you call the real world is simply a collection of solidified assumptions. When enough people assume something is true, it appears to be an unchangeable fact. But for the individual who dares to assume differently, reality becomes fluid. I once knew a woman who was told by doctors that she would never walk again. The medical evidence was clear. The experts were unanimous. But in her mind, she began to assume something different. Every night she would imagine herself dancing at her daughter's wedding. She didn't hope to walk. She assumed she already could. She felt the music, felt her feet moving, felt the joy of that moment as if it were happening now. The doctors called it a miracle when she walked out of that hospital 6 months later. But it wasn't a miracle. It was the natural result of a changed assumption manifesting in physical form. Your outer world has no choice but to conform to your inner convictions. This is not philosophy. This is law. And here's what trips people up. They try to change their assumptions while still reacting to their current circumstances. They say, I assume I'm wealthy, while feeling anxious about their bills. They declare, I assume I'm loved, while feeling lonely and rejected. True assumption is not an intellectual exercise. It's a state of being. When you truly assume something, you don't need to convince yourself it's true. You simply know it is. But let me warn you about something that keeps 99% of people trapped in mediocrity. They actually believe struggle makes them more deserving. They think suffering equals worthiness. And this belief is destroying their dreams faster than they can create them. Society has sold you one of the greatest lies ever told, that you must struggle to succeed, that you must earn your good through hardship, that no pain, no gain is a universal truth. But this belief system is keeping you from the very things you desire most. Think about it. When you struggle for something, what are you really saying? You're saying that it's not naturally yours, that you're not worthy of it in your current state, that you must somehow prove yourself deserving. But the universe doesn't operate on a merit system. It operates on assumption and feeling. I've watched people work themselves to exhaustion chasing success, only to watch it slip through their fingers. I've seen others who barely lifted a finger receive abundance beyond measure. The difference wasn't in their effort. It was in their state of being. The person who struggles believes they are separate from what they desire. The person who receives knows they are one with it. When you release the need to struggle, something magical happens. You stop pushing against life and start flowing with it. You stop trying to force outcomes and start allowing them to unfold. You discover that the universe is not your adversary, it's your collaborator. But letting go of struggle requires tremendous faith. It means releasing control over the how and trusting that there's an intelligence far greater than your personal will, orchestrating everything perfectly. I remember teaching this principle to a man who had been unemployed for 2 years. He had sent out hundreds of resumes, attended countless interviews, networked until he was exhausted. Nothing worked. When I suggested he stop trying so hard and instead embody the feeling of already being employed, he almost laughed at me. Neville, he said, I can't just sit around doing nothing. I'm not asking you to do nothing, I replied. I'm asking you to stop doing the wrong thing. Instead of chasing jobs from a state of desperation, assume you already have the perfect position. Feel grateful for work you love. Imagine colleagues who respect you. Experience the satisfaction of meaningful contribution. Within 2 weeks, a former colleague called him out of the blue with an opportunity that exceeded everything he had been chasing. The job found him the moment he stopped desperately seeking it. Now, here's something that will probably shock you. The greatest power available to you is not in what you do, but in what you don't do. There's a force more powerful than all your efforts combined, and it can only be accessed in complete stillness. In our noisy, chaotic world, stillness has become a lost art. But within that stillness lies the greatest treasure, direct communion with the creative power of the universe itself. Most people are afraid of silence because in silence, they're forced to confront their own minds. They discover how chaotic their thoughts really are, how much fear and doubt they carry, how little control they actually have. So they fill every moment with noise, activity, distraction, anything to avoid the discomfort of facing themselves. But what they don't realize is that this avoidance is keeping them from their greatest power. In stillness, you stop being a reactor and become a creator. When your mind becomes quiet, something extraordinary happens. The same intelligence that orchestrates the movement of planets, that coordinates the migration of birds, that heals your body without your conscious involvement. That intelligence becomes available to guide your life. But you cannot access this guidance while your mind is churning with worry, plans, and analysis. Divine wisdom speaks in whispers, not shouts. It comes as gentle nudges, sudden knowings, moments of clarity that arise from nowhere. I've experienced this countless times. Faced with what seemed like impossible situations, I've learned to go into the silence, not to think my way out of the problem, but to surrender it completely. And in that surrender, solutions appear that my thinking mind could never have conceived. The modern world teaches you that stillness is laziness, that if you're not constantly doing something, you're wasting time. But this is backward thinking. The most powerful action you can take is often no action at all. It's aligning yourself with the flow of life rather than fighting against it. True stillness is not the absence of activity. It's the presence of awareness. When you cultivate this inner stillness, your outer actions become incredibly effective. You stop wasting energy on unnecessary struggles. You begin to move with precision, guided by an intelligence that sees the whole picture while you can only see fragments. But here's something that might break your understanding of reality itself. Time, as you experience it, is an illusion. And once you understand this illusion, you can collapse years of waiting into moments of manifestation. The greatest secret I can share with you is this. Everything you desire already exists. Not in some distant future. Not as a possibility. It exists now, in this moment, in what we call the eternal present. Your mistake is thinking that you must wait for conditions to change before you can experience what you want. You believe that first you must work hard, then save money, then you can be wealthy. First you must meet the right person, then build a relationship, then you can experience love. First you must achieve success, then you can feel confident. But creation doesn't work that way. Creation works from the end, not toward it. Imagine that everything you desire has already happened. You already have the wealth, the love, the success, the health, whatever it is you seek. How would you feel right now? How would you walk? How would you speak? What thoughts would occupy your mind? The secret is to live from that end state now, before you see any evidence of it in your external world. This is not make-believe or positive thinking. This is understanding how reality actually operates. Your external world is always catching up to your internal world. When you persist in the feeling of already having what you desire, the physical world has no choice but to conform to that inner reality. But most people do the opposite. They look at their current circumstances and let those circumstances dictate how they feel. They see lack, so they feel poor. They experience loneliness, so they feel unloved. They observe their current limitations, so they feel powerless. This is living from the beginning instead of the end, and it keeps you trapped in cycles of more of the same. I taught this principle to a young woman who desperately wanted to be a successful artist. She had talent, but no connections, no money for art supplies, no gallery representation. By all external measures, she was as far from success as one could be. Neville, she said, how can I feel successful when I'm living in a tiny apartment, working at a coffee shop, and my art supplies are borrowed? Because I told her, your current circumstances are the result of your past assumptions. If you want different circumstances, you must assume a different state now. Close your eyes. Imagine you're already a celebrated artist. You're standing in a beautiful gallery, surrounded by people admiring your work. Feel the satisfaction, the recognition, the fulfillment. Make it so real that for those moments, it's actually happening. She practiced this daily, living in the end of her wish fulfilled. Within 6 months, a series of seemingly miraculous events led to her first gallery showing. Within a year, she was supporting herself through her art. The external world caught up to her internal assumption. Now here's something that will either liberate you or terrify you. There's a law operating in your life right now that's more reliable than gravity, more consistent than the sunrise, and more powerful than any force you can imagine. And whether you know it or not, you're using it every single moment. This law is always working. The law I speak of is this: you become what you assume yourself to be. This law is impersonal, impartial, and absolutely reliable. It doesn't care whether your assumptions are positive or negative, whether they serve you or limit you. It simply brings into manifestation whatever you persistently assume to be true. Right now, as you listen to these words, this law is working. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every assumption you make is being impressed upon the creative power of the universe. And that power is shaping your tomorrow based on what you assume today. Most people are unconscious of this process. They think their thoughts don't matter, that their beliefs are private, that their assumptions have no real power. But nothing could be further from the truth. Your inner world is constantly broadcasting, and the outer world is constantly responding. If you assume life is hard, you will encounter difficulty at every turn. If you assume people cannot be trusted, you will be surrounded by betrayal. If you assume money is scarce, you will always struggle financially. But if you assume life flows with ease, that people are fundamentally good, that abundance is your natural state, then this too will be your experience. The law doesn't discriminate. It gives you exactly what you assume to be true. This means you are not a victim of circumstances. You are the creator of them. Every condition in your life is there, because at some level, you have assumed it to be true. This might be uncomfortable to accept, but it's also incredibly empowering, because it means you have the power to change everything simply by changing your assumptions. But here's where most people struggle. They want to change their assumptions while still holding on to their old identity. They want to assume they're wealthy while still thinking of themselves as poor. They want to assume they're loved while still believing they're unworthy. True transformation requires a complete shift of identity. You must be willing to let go of who you think you are to become who you desire to be. You must be willing to abandon familiar limitations to embrace unlimited possibility. I once worked with a man who had failed in business 3 times. He came to me convinced that he was just not cut out for success. His assumption was so strong that he unconsciously sabotaged every opportunity that came his way. The problem isn't your circumstances, I told him. The problem is your assumption about yourself. You've assumed you're a failure, and the law is faithfully giving you more failure. But what if you assumed something different? What if you assumed you were naturally successful, that everything you touched turned to gold? It took time to break down his old assumption and build a new one. But when he finally embodied the assumption of success, when he felt it in his bones rather than just thinking it in his head, everything changed. His 4th business venture exceeded his wildest dreams. And here's something that will shatter your understanding of what's possible. Scientists are now discovering what mystics have known for millennia. Reality is far more fluid than you've been taught. And you, my friend, are the one holding the paintbrush. What if I told you that modern quantum physics is proving everything I've been teaching you? Scientists have discovered that at the quantum level, particles exist in what they call superposition, meaning all possibilities exist simultaneously until an observer collapses them into a single reality. You are that observer. Every moment, you are collapsing infinite possibilities into your singular experience through the power of your focused attention and assumption. But here's what the scientists won't tell you, because they're still catching up to what we've always known. You don't need a laboratory to be a quantum physicist. You are already conducting the most important experiment in the universe, the experiment of your own life. Every assumption you make is like choosing which reality to collapse from the field of infinite possibilities. When you assume you are wealthy, You are selecting that reality from all the potential timelines available to you. When you assume you are loved, you are tuning into the frequency where that love already exists. This is why your imagination is so powerful. It's not just fantasy. It's your interface with the quantum field of pure potential. When you imagine something vividly, when you feel it as real, you are literally reaching into the field of possibilities and drawing that reality toward you. I once had a student who was a physicist. He came to me struggling with this concept intellectually. Neville, he said, I understand the quantum mechanics, but how can my personal assumptions affect reality on a macro scale? I smiled and said, my friend, you're thinking too small. You are not separate from the quantum field. You are a localized expression of it. Every assumption you make sends ripples through the entire fabric of reality. The question isn't whether you can affect reality. The question is, which reality are you choosing to experience? Within months of embracing this understanding, his career transformed. He went from struggling researcher to leading breakthrough discoveries that revolutionized his field, not through harder work, but through aligning with the reality where he was already successful. There's an ancient practice, almost lost to time, that makes everything I've taught you 10 times more powerful. The ancients knew something about the human mind that we've completely forgotten. And when you rediscover it, manifestation becomes as natural as breathing. Throughout history, the greatest minds understood something profound. The future is not fixed, it's scripted, and you are the scriptwriter. Ancient civilizations practiced what they called sacred theater, the art of living out their desired reality in detailed, sensory-rich inner experiences. They didn't just hope for better times. They lived them first in consciousness, then watched as external reality caught up to their inner script. But modern society has taught you the opposite. You've been conditioned to script your future based on your past. You look at what happened yesterday and project it forward, assuming tomorrow will be more of the same. You script failure because you've experienced failure. You script struggle because struggle is what you know. But what if you could rewrite the script? This is not visualization or positive thinking. This is conscious reality creation. When you script your ideal day, your perfect relationship, your dream life with the same vivid detail that you remember your past, you are literally programming your future experience. Here's the secret the ancients knew. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you script a scene with enough sensory detail and emotional intensity, your subconscious accepts it as fact and begins reorganizing your reality to match that script. I remember working with a woman who had been single for years. She had convinced herself that all the good men are taken and had scripted a future of loneliness. When I taught her to script a different reality, to spend time each night living out conversations with her ideal partner, feeling loved and cherished, experiencing the joy of deep connection, something remarkable happened. She began attracting different people into her life. Her energy changed. Her conversations changed. Even her appearance seemed to transform. Within 6 months, she met a man who matched every detail of her scripted ideal. Not because she manifested him from thin air, but because she had aligned herself with the reality where such love was natural and available. Your life is a movie, and you are the director, producer, and star. The question is, are you creating a masterpiece or a tragedy? The power is always in your hands. Every morning, you wake up with a blank script for the day. You can fill it with worry, doubt, and repetition of past patterns, or you can write a story worthy of your highest dreams. Now I'm going to tell you something that might disturb you deeply. There are forces in this world that benefit from you not knowing your true power. And once you understand why, you'll never look at your limitations the same way again. My friends, we must speak of something uncomfortable but necessary. You have been hypnotized, not by some mysterious force, but by the collective agreement of a sleeping humanity. From the moment you were born, you were programmed with limitations. You were told what was possible and what wasn't, what was realistic and what was fantasy, what you could achieve and what was beyond your reach. This wasn't done maliciously. It was done by people who were themselves programmed by their predecessors. But here's what's truly disturbing. This collective hypnosis serves those who benefit from your limitations. When you believe you are powerless, you give your power away. When you believe you must struggle, you accept systems that profit from your struggle. When you believe scarcity is natural, you don't question why abundance is hoarded by so few. The greatest conspiracy is not hidden in secret meetings. It's hidden in plain sight as your own limiting beliefs. Think about it. What would happen if everyone suddenly realized they were creators of their own reality? What would happen if everyone understood that struggle is optional, that abundance is our birthright, that we don't need permission from any external authority to live our dreams? The entire structure of control would crumble overnight. This is why your awakening to your true power is not just personal. It's revolutionary. Every time you break free from a limiting belief, every time you prove that the impossible is possible in your own life, you weaken the collective hypnosis for everyone. I've seen this happen countless times. One person in a family awakens to their creative power and transforms their life. Soon, others in the family begin questioning their own limitations. One person in a community breaks free from the consensus reality of struggle and lack, and their success becomes a beacon that awakens others. You are not just changing your life, you are helping to change the world. But with this power comes responsibility. You cannot unsee what you now see. You cannot unknow what you now know. You are being called to step out of the collective dream of limitation and into the individual reality of infinite possibility. Some will try to pull you back. They will call you unrealistic, naive, or delusional. They will point to evidence of why your dreams are impossible. But you must remember, they are speaking from within the hypnosis. They are defending limitations they believe are real. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to live so authentically from your awakened state that your very existence becomes an invitation for others to wake up to. I once had a student who came from a family that had been poor for generations. When he began applying these principles and his financial situation transformed, his family couldn't understand it. They accused him of getting lucky or changing. They were right about one thing: he had changed. He had awakened from the family hypnosis of poverty and stepped into a reality where abundance was natural. At first, this created tension. But as the years passed and his prosperity remained stable and joyful, something beautiful happened. One by one, family members began asking him questions. They began questioning their own assumptions about money and success. Today, that entire family line has been transformed, and they speak of him as the one who broke the generational curse of poverty. You have the power to be that person for your lineage, your community, your world. Before I leave you with the most important truth of all, I want you to understand something that will change everything. You are not trying to get something from the universe. The truth is far more beautiful and far more powerful than that. I want you to understand this. You are not separate from the creative power of the universe. You are that power expressing itself as you. Every desire that stirs within your heart is the universe seeking to experience itself through you. Every dream that captures your imagination is life calling you to become more than you currently believe yourself to be. You are not begging the universe for favors. You are the universe awakening to its own infinite possibilities. When you truly grasp this, everything changes. You stop trying to manipulate external conditions and start aligning with the creative flow. You stop asking, how can I get what I want? And start knowing, I am what I seek. The universe is not something outside of you that you must convince or impress. The universe is you, expressing as you, through you. This is why your assumptions are so powerful. They are not separate from the creative force. They are the very mechanism through which it operates. This is why your feelings matter so much. They are not just emotions, they are the language of creation itself. When you align your assumptions with your desires, when you feel yourself already living the life you dream of, when you trust that everything is unfolding perfectly, even when you cannot see how, in that alignment, you become a clear channel for miracles. But trust is not something you do. It's something you are. You don't have to learn to trust the universe. You only have to remember that you are the universe trusting itself to create through you. Stop trying to figure everything out. Stop struggling against the natural flow of life. Stop believing that you must earn your good through suffering and effort. Instead, assume the best about yourself and your future. Feel the joy of your fulfilled desires. Live in the end of your greatest dreams. The same intelligence that spins galaxies into existence, that orchestrates the perfect timing of seasons, that beats your heart without your conscious effort. That intelligence is your intelligence. That power is your power. That love is your love. You are not learning to create. You are remembering that you never stop creating. So go now with this understanding burning in your heart. Every moment is a new opportunity to assume the best. Every breath is a chance to align with your highest vision. Every choice is an invitation to embody the truth of who you really are. The universe is not working against you. It is working as you. Trust it, because in trusting it, you are trusting yourself. And in that trust, all things become possible. Remember, you are the operant power. You are the creative force. You are the dreamer and the dream. Now go forth and create consciously. Thank you for taking this journey with me. If these words have touched something deep within you, if they have awakened a remembrance of your true power, then share this truth with others. The world needs more conscious creators, more individuals who understand their divine nature, more people living from the end of their highest vision. The universe is dreaming through you. Make it a beautiful dream.